Hello and welcome to my Let's Play series. So in the previous episode we came very close to going broke. So what we did is a couple of odd jobs just to sort of make up the shortfall. And since then I just jumped into the mission control and I found a couple of extra missions for us. The ferry of tourists, which has got a nice advance in there. So we were able to get a good bit of funds extra just for accepting the mission. And of course recovering modules and stuff like that. So the result of that is we're now up to 900k. Which means we can afford to set up a full mining operation on either Moon or Minmus. So let's have a look at our spiffy mining base. It's in here somewhere. Here we go. So the first we want to launch is the miner itself. As you can see, it's a mighty rocket, and it is supposed to be reusable, so this entire module will detach and glide back to the surface and hopefully land sort of Kerbal X, sort of SpaceX style, except it does use parachutes. So it's not very accurate about where it's going to land, but we are able to recover quite a few components from the launch, and that should bring the cost down. I mean, this is a hefty price tag for any rocket, 385k. Having a quick look inside the rocket itself. If I open this up, if I can just find where here we go. So if I open these, you can see it's got a refinery in there, a large container that holds all of the ore that we're going to mine, a fuel cell array which uses the oxygen-hydrogen reaction to generate electricity. This is really handy if you're out of sunlight. And what actually happens is, as you're mining the ore and refining the refining fuel, you will then generate power using these fuel cells, and you'll actually get more power than you need for ongoing mining operations. So this is really handy, the fuel cells, if you do have solar cell obstruction issues. A big bank of rechargeable batteries. These are all full-sized electric charge of 4,000 and a whole bunch of those. Not a great deal in terms of fuel. The forward and rear fuel tanks are empty to save weight at launch, but these fuel tanks will need to be filled up in order for this thing to be able to land somewhere. But as you can see, I'm trying to keep the weight down for this thing to actually be able to make it into orbit. Once it is in orbit, I'm hoping I'll be able to harvest some of the fuel left over from this rocket to just get this thing on its way, you know. But if all we can do is just get it into orbit, that is fine. We'll launch a fuel carrier immediately after it, and it will fuel it up before it's able to make its delivery on the ground. A couple of large solar panels. So these shrouded solar panels are really handy. They open up like that, and they're nice and aerodynamic and unobtrusive as well. A couple of large thermal control systems, so radiators, and of course, I believe, if I remember right, the underside opens up, and it's got a couple of large drills in there, which are more than sufficient to extract all of the ore that we need. Of course, a large solar panel right in the middle that opens up once the whole thing is landed, and a matching one over here. There we go. Okay, I'll close all of this up, and of course once this thing lands, it opens up its feet and is firmly planted on the ground. Now once it's on the ground, it will then act as a mining base. And we will need a fuel carrier to come along and dock with it, and once it docks with it, it's able to then take the fuel away into orbit. Now this is a big risk. because I built this thing a while ago. It took me about 3 or 4 hours, and if I remember right, I did take it to orbit, which is why I did upload it to Kerbal X. But if this thing blows up on launch, it's going to be a big cut to our budget. But you know, no guts, no glory, and all of that. So we're going to give this a try and see how it flies. Just going to have a quick double check of our staging. We have an engine, decouplers, and the solid rocket boosters, and they'll separate. Then the protective fairing will detach, and it will deploy the payload into orbit. And then finally, you know, of course, we'll engage the air brakes, and then we'll engage the parachutes. After that, this thing will fly by itself. It'll be able to land and so on. Hopefully, we will fuel it up, obviously. And it's got a single command control here, probably an octo, that allows it to fly around. Large docking ports at the front and at the back. And if I remember right, there should be some smaller docking ports around. No smaller docking ports. Okay. This thing is not really interested in docking with anything other than a large dock at the front and another large at the back. Which is unusual. I mean, you want to at least be able to dock some landers to it or something, you know. So I might just throw in an extra docking port. I mean, this will reduce our delta V ever so slightly. But yeah, I think it might be worth it. I'll just put a small docking port there so a lander can dock to it while in orbit. And it can sort of siphon some fuel and whatever. Yeah, we'll do that. Okay. We'll save this. There should be no crew on board because there's no space for them. Okay. So our delta V of 4,577 meters per second, and that is with empty fuel tanks. So it's quite a lot of bulk that we're trying to get into orbit. And just having a quick look here, we have our guidance system here. Okay, we'll save that and try to launch. And apparently we have not unlocked enough tech for this thing to fly. So the stack guidance system, remote guidance unit, and the large holding tank. Okay. Let's see what we need to do to unlock those. So we have 681 units of science. Having a quick look, so large probes, that is where our guidance system is, and we need 1,000 units. Okay, experimental science, we need that one for the large holding tank. So we are not going to be able to afford this particular rocket launch. Okay, let's have a look at any other mining operations that I've done in the past. So this rocket is out of our reach. This is an absolute top tier, and we need another 2,000 units of science just to be able to launch it. So let's go into our Kerbal X. Okay. So this is a miner and a fuel carrier. Let's see. Our mining lander, heavy-duty mining station in a rover, heavy and unwieldy to get into orbit, but flies pretty well once in space. Pair up with a fuel carrier, establish a mining depot on a moon as desired. So this thing is half the cost. We will attempt this one. And this is why it's half the cost, because it is just the rover by itself. It also comes with its own little orbital scanner unit, which is cool. Carries no fuel by itself because it's trying to keep the weight down. And it's got a cargo bay, and inside of that let's have a look. It does have the refinery and a bank of batteries. So it doesn't really need the cargo bay to open at all. That's cool. Some docking ports on the side. Normal size docking ports at the front and the back. So this is the next tier down. Let's see if this thing will launch. So we'll just launch it as it is, and we'll just be able to drive it around the launch pad if that works. Okay, we can definitely launch this one. If I now focus on the front docking port, we're able to drive it around. Hopefully. Do we have brakes engaged? Why are we not moving? And away we go. So it's got a nice little surface scanning module here that's able to give us a percentage of all different ores, which is cool. We have an orbital scanner as well, and a nice big antenna. Huge solar arrays. Okay, so this thing drives pretty well, and if I apply the brakes, we should be able to do a little bit of mining. And a quick look at our ore surface concentration. It's fairly low, but it should at least give us something. So, deploy, start all drills. No? Okay, come on. And start, please. There we go. Okay, so we'll extend all radiators. Doing well, and now all we gotta do is activate the mining refinery. There we go. So it already has the liquid fuel and oxygen active, so it is now generating both fuel and liquid oxygen at a rate of 0.02 and 0.03 respectively. So yeah, this entire thing works quite well as a mining base. All we gotta do now is figure out how to get this 50-ton monster into orbit. As you can see, this is an older design. It's got these massive Rover wheels, which are very tough, but also they're very unwieldy. As you can see, they're massive. So it's a real trick, a real aerodynamic challenge to try to get this thing into orbit. Once you do, it works amazingly well. And these nuclear engines are able to pretty well put it down on any moon you like, and they have an enormous staying power in space. They can go a very long distance. And of course, once on the moon, these amazingly tough rover wheels, they're able to propel you across the surface a good long distance with very little risk of injury to the rover itself. I'm just thinking, how are we going to get it into orbit? I did get it into orbit with a ridiculously oversized rocket. I'm just not really sure we'll be able to afford it. Anyway, we can only really try. So we'll stop all drills, retract all drills. Do the same for all of the radiators. And retract all of these. Now, the reason I'm doing this is I want to recover all of the funds expended for this thing. The only way you can do that is if you're either on the runway or on the launch pad. I'm just going to drive over to that runway. Park it there and then go back to, then get it recovered, I should say. Definitely not the fastest thing on two legs, on four wheels I should say, but it's nice and tough and hardy, and it will definitely get you wherever you need to go in one piece. Okay. Hopefully we'll have recovered a little bit more than our expended funds, because it's going to be loaded with a bit of fuel. So 173.306. Okay, we now have our mining rover. Let's have a look at our fuel carrying rover as well. And once we're done with that, we'll have a look at a way to get this thing up into space. Here we go. Really? I don't recall making any changes. Okay, so this is the counterpart to the mining rover. This is a fuel carrying rover. 5,000 units of liquid fuel and some spare change in liquid fuel and oxidizer in its front and its back tanks. It's able to carry itself just the same as the mining rover. It's just that this one is specifically dedicated towards carrying fuel itself. Okay. What? Anyway, let's see what we need to do to get this thing into space. First things first, let's see if we can get it the right way around. So it's like this. Yep. I need some kind of decoupler, so... Enormous. Too small. Just right. Okay. Okay, so our launcher rocket may or may not need to be intelligent. We'll go with no and then take it up from there. I need a little bit of... let's see. A little bit of power. Yep. Oh, hell with it. We'll put a probe core under it. Okay. One of these. Might need something bigger, actually. Structure, please. Okay, so that'll give us a little bit of room for our fairing. Okay. Next, let's put a fairing on it. How big of a fairing? Nope. Way bigger than that, so 3.75. Yep. Might need something even bigger than that. A 5-meter fairing. Yes. Okay, doing well. There we go. So this enormous bulbous thing is going to be our heavy mining lander lifter? Okay. Now, let's put a big fuel tank under that. Good. And now we need a big rocket under that. Big engine. It's the biggest engine we can put under it. Yeah, that gives us an immediate delta V of 3,155, but a thrust to weight a thrust to weight ratio of 0.48. So this engine is not going to cut it. We need a bigger engine, somewhat bigger engine. Oh. Okay, so the multi-radite gives us 8,000 kilonewtons. The heavy mower gives us 1,300, which is not enough. Multi-mower. Okay, this still... What's going on? Okay, I've been looking at the wrong end. Here we go, so... Okay, this gives us a thrust to weight of 4.74, I should say. Whereas this one gives us 4.6, but... gives us a little bit more delta V. 3,155, 3,667. Okay, this thing costs, the super radite costs 138k, and the multi-radite costs 95k. So no prizes for guessing which one I'm gonna go with. Gonna need a bigger fuel tank because that thrust to weight is insane. Okay, that gives us a thrust to weight of 2.97. We want to be able to extend that a little bit more. Thrust away 1.7, that's what we want. We want to be in that sweet spot as close as possible to 1, but over 1. And a delta V of 5,077 meters per second. We might be able to get away with just one more tank. Thrust away 1.4, atmospheric 1.28. That will definitely do it, and a delta V of 5,360 meters per second. This is already turning into a 400 grand rocket. Want to be able to recover as much of this as we can, so I'm gonna try. Let's see. We need some serious reaction wheels on this thing, so 5-meter reaction wheels, please. Where is the center of mass? Center of mass is there, so we will put a pair of pairs here. Why not a third one as well? Really want the control. Okay. Not sure if I should bother with fins, because something of this size, it's just may well be a waste. I will give it some delta wings. Okay, how are we with center of lift? We have no center of lift at all. Come on. Ah, there we go. So center of lift is all the way at the back. That's what we want. That's exactly what we want. Good. Okay, pushing 412 grand. This is already more expensive than the top tier rocket we had in mind. But at a delta V of 5,304, this will definitely get us into space and then some. What can we do for this thing? This is going to be a large rocket we're going to be able to make use of later. So what should we do with it? I mean, considering, hopefully, that if this thing flies properly, you know, we're going to have an awful lot of drag from that nose cone, so we do want these. Yeah, we'll put them like this. Why not? Okay. Why not? Let's attach some docking ports to the sides. Like that, so things can dock to it, refuel from it, and some junior docking ports as well. And that is going straight through the docking ports, so let's move these off a little bit. Move them off the side like that. There we go. Okay, solar panels, I suppose. Because why not? These are 3x2s, 1x6s. I don't know. 1x6, why not? Okay, how do these look? Ah, beautiful. So this is going to be a massive rocket. It's going to be very useful to have this thing in orbit to be a sort of a milk cow, if you will, just basically a large fuel tank that we can store our fuel in and use it to refuel other craft. May as well add a few more docking ports around the place. There we go, and get some mileage for our efforts. Good enough. Drops our Delta V a slight bit, but that is definitely fine. This thing's not going to have any monopropellant. I don't think it's really going to need it. We will allow other craft to dock to it and carry their own monopropellant, but sorry, their own maneuvering jets. But we will have some monopropellant tanks. Yeah, that'll do. So it will have monopropellant 370 units. That is not a lot, but it will definitely help some. Okay, communication. And we put the biggest dish on it. Not really, but one of these. Maybe. Maybe not. Need something to offset that, so structural. Okay, that still stays inside the fairing, but it's starting to clip at that Trying to clip the bottom end of that dish, so we'll just move it up a little bit. Like that, and just move it in a little bit so it sort of grips onto it properly. There we go. Rotate these. Oh, that is looking good. Very nice. So the top of this thing will be a sort of large antenna array. So this thing will now be a fuel carrier and an orbital antenna array, and we'll be able to dock to it and sort of construct a space station if we really want to, and it will still have the multi-redite monster cluster engine in the back, so it will be easy enough to move around. Good, good. That's looking very, very good indeed. Now, having a quick look, this particular join is going to be the weak spot in trying to hold on to all of this mass, this 50-ton behemoth up here. So let's add some struts. Need a lot of struts. Okay, so first lot of struts is just going to hold on to that to reinforce that join there. Might add a second pair to sort of get a slightly more wide grip. Okay. So that may be enough, it may not, I'm not sure. move this thing a little bit. It's looking like it's sort of clipping through ever so slightly. There we go. There we go. Having another quick look. Okay, an enormous amount of air resistance from this shell. Let's just change the way that this thing clamshell deploy, please. Yep, that's fine. So this is coming in at a hefty price tag of 438,000. I'm fairly confident that this rocket will stay in orbit. If it does, then we'll be able to make excellent use of it. If it doesn't, we'll have to recover it. So we need to decide now whether it's a recoverable stage or not. Not. It's going to make it into orbit. It's going to be used as a space station. I've decided. Okay, let's see how it flies anyway. As for crew, we don't want any crew on this. Jebediah has come back from his exodus, so he has emerged from his cloning vats, I assume. And he has no experience whatsoever. Oh. Having a quick look at our staging, we're missing something quite important. We need those launch clamps. Okay. Something like that, I think. That should do it. I think that should do it, really. Let's see how it flies. So that's saved. Make sure that our staging is correct. So our clamps and engine will fire at the same time. Then our fairing will detach, then we will stage, and then these engines will engage for it to be able to land and take off by itself. We'll have a separate rocket to deliver the crew. I do not trust this rocket. It's too expensive as it is anyway. Okay, saving that. Definitely no crew on board. Good. Let's give it a shot. Okay, first things first, it hasn't blown up on the launch pad. Always a plus. So our orientation is wrong. Let's zoom in and change what we're flying as. This is gonna be tricky, hang on. Come on, command module, where are you? There we are. Control from here, please. Good. I think that'll do. Let's activate autopilot. So do not skip circularization. Limit angle of attack to 15 degrees. Engage autopilot. I think that'll do. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, we have good liftoff. Thrust to weight of 1.30 and rising. Good authority from those reaction wheels. Thrust to weight at 1.49 and rising. Fuel reserves at 90% and dropping. 2 kilometers up. We're beginning our pitch over. Current angle of attack is at 15 degrees limit. That is definitely not a 15-degree angle of attack, so I'm guessing this figure isn't what I thought it was. Fuel reserves at 66% and dropping, approaching Mach 1, 6.3 kilometers, thrust to weight 1.93 and rising. We have good stability, getting a little bit of understeer. We're flying more sideways than I'd like. 11.5 kilometers altitude, thrust to weight 2.28 and rising. We're approaching Mach 2. (17 kilometers and rising), Mach 2.57, thrust to weight 2.68 and rising. Fuel reserves at 33%. We are on target, 24 kilometers altitude, Mach 3.6. (1,200 meters per second and accelerating, approaching 4,000 kilometers an hour. Mach 4.25. Thrust to weight 3.6. Fuel reserves at 25%. 36 kilometers altitude rising. Thrust to weight 4.1 and rising. Okay, engine shutdown. Apoapsis of 115 kilometers. (60 kilometers altitude). We are going to space today. Fuel reserves at about 15%, leaving us a delta V of 1,300 meters per second in this stage. Fairing deployed. Is that not a thing of beauty? Mining rover has achieved space. Okay, our circularization burn is going to go through about 500 meters per second. Delta V. Should be left with about 600 to go, which will not be enough to make it to the moon. But the rover itself does have its own nuclear engine, so it should be able to fly those by itself. And I spoke too soon. Its delta V remaining in this first stage is 914 meters per second. That will definitely do. Okay. And engaging SAS to stop this rotation. And let's extend this solar panel. In fact, let's extend these solar panels. Lovely. So 914 meters per second left in stage 1. Let's see if we can get to the moon on that. We should. It usually takes about 700. And then a couple hundred just to circularize. So let's see what we can do about that. There we go. So that's 824 meters per second it's going to take. And then a circularize. That is going to take 168, so it's going to be very, very tight. Very tight indeed. What is the absolute bare minimum that we need? 115. Still not enough. We need to reduce this delta V as much as we can if we're going to be able to circularize around the moon. Come along. Okay. Hello, there we go. 821. 821 and 115, that's a total of 930. Need to kill this one and add it again. Okay, we need quite a bit to circularize, it seems. $165. Yeah, no way to color it other than we are going to be short on fuel. Okay. Cancel these. We'll send the rover out there by itself. And the rover may be able to deliver fuel to the rocket. Yeah. Have a quick look. Aspen and Aspen's Hulk from Orbiter Kurgan, okay. Rescue Albus. Okay. Yeah, I think we'll send the rover out to the moon. So we'll send Albus up, we'll send the rover up there and start extracting some ore. And while this rocket won't be able to make it to the moon by itself, it might be once we detach the rover from it and let the rover fly by itself. Yeah, I hadn't even thought of that. Let's just get into the sunlight. I'm tired of doing all this in the dark. There we go. Much better. So yeah, this rocket has 914 meters per second delta V, but only because the rover is still attached to it. So I think if we detach this rover, it might be able to fly by itself to the moon. So it should have about just shy of 1,000 meters per second left in its tanks, the rover, I mean. Okay, let's do that. So I'll just stage. Okay, and I have no idea what its delta V is now because, of course, I forgot to attach the Kerbal Engineer. But the good thing is the rover does have quite a bit of delta V. So control from here, please. Okay, Rover, let's get you to the moon. Okay, 823 meters per second, and once we get to the moon, we'll add a maneuver node to circularize. That is going to be 124 meters per second. So 823 and 124 will be 950, and we have 987. So it will be just enough to be able to get into a sort of eccentric orbit of the moon. It won't be able to land on it, but we should be able to get some more fuel out there to it for it to manage that. Maybe not the best idea. I think I was too focused on trying to preserve fuel. Hang on. I might dock, because this is now a fuel carrier. Might dock with it and pick up some fuel. Yeah, I think if we manage to harvest enough fuel from the first stage, we should be able to get to the moon, land on the moon, extract some fuel, and yeah, start a mining operation there. Okay, 78 meters out. $50 meters out. 40 meters. 35 meters. Nice and steady. Almost there. Beautiful. There we go. Now, let's see if we can transfer as much liquid fuel across as we can. Wow, that is amazing. Just from 10% of fuel in this tank has been enough to just about fill up both of these tanks. Okay. That's ore. Alright, well, let's undock. Wow, we now have 2,547 meters per second delta V. Oh my goodness. Okay. Okay. Let's get ourselves off to the moon then, shall we? Oh wow, the maneuver is really close. 1 minute, 15 seconds. Do we have any solar panels to keep us alive? Okay, so let's open up one of these. "39 seconds to burn." "10 seconds to burn." 5 seconds. Throttling up. Okay, coming in. Lovely. Beautiful. Nice circularization burn here. John Rod. Where's John Rod? John Rod, orbit of the moon. We just need to recover him. Okay, let's go get him. Nearly there. Lovely. Now, where did John Rod go? There you are. Let's do that. Okay, how did we do? Closest speed, closest distance 16.8 Ks. Okay, let's see if we can refine that a little bit. Okay, never mind. Hello, John Rod. Let's get closer. Just trying to drop that separation, get us a little bit closer to our target. That's looking much better. Down from 16 Ks, we're now looking at a separation of 8 kilometers and dropping. Good, let's get closer still. Notice this is our reverse direction of travel, and that is the reverse direction of our target. Trying to get those to line up. But yeah, keep watching that separation. 4 kilometers and dropping. And these are getting nice and close. Okay. Okay, a separation of 700 meters. Let's slow that down somewhat. It's going to happen in 1 minute. There he is, 1.5 kilometers and closing. 1 kilometer, 500 meters. And 25 meters in closing. Don't you dare collide with it now. There we go. All right, John Rod. He's a pilot. I had hoped for an engineer, but a pilot will definitely do. Hey, get out of there. There you go, Joe Rod, a handy jump seat just for you. Perfect. And we don't need John Rod's shipwreck anymore, so let's turn off that target. Okay, now what we gotta do is find a good spot to land and actually land. In order to find that good spot, we need our surveillance data again. There you are. Let's activate that overlay. Where's that moon? There it is. Okay. Increase that cutoff to 80%. And pick a good spot. Yeah, I think I like this crater right here. Okay. I'm not sure if this overlay is going to stay once we switch over to the mining lander lifter, but we can see that it is coming up right on this crater. And its orbit does indeed overlap it right here, so we should be able to land inside that and start mining. Okay, the overlay has stayed, which is always a good thing. Let's change our orbit more like that. And then as we fly over it, we'll do that. And then we shall land. That's fine. Are we ready to go? Are we controlling from the right spot? No, we are not. Always a good thing to check that. Five seconds. Beautiful. Lovely. I see, okay. So that's 1 minute 58 seconds to burn. Coming up on that crater now. And burning away. Okay. Coming in for a landing. We are at 5 kilometers altitude, dropping that horizontal velocity as much as we can. Four kilometers altitude. Horizontal speed approaching 0. Three and a half kilometers up. Looking for a shadow. There's the sun. The sun is there, so our shadow should be over there somewhere. Two and a half kilometers altitude. Our shadow should be visible anytime soon now. Two kilometers up. There's our shadow. One 1.3 kilometers up. One kilometer up. $700 meters. $500 meters. $400 meters. $300 meters. $230 meters and dropping. Horizontal speed, roughly 0. Vertical speed, 3.5 meters per second, or about 10 kilometers an hour. 140 meters up. $100 meters up. Nice and steady. Here we go. 1 meter up. Touchdown. We have landed. Beautiful. Engage brakes. Deploy all solar panels. Run a surface analysis. Lovely. And what do we have? Ore surface. Ore is 14.62% concentration. That is less than I expected. Okay. Well, let's run that. Let's run the drills and see what they do. And let's activate this thing. No, we don't want liquid oxygen. Or do we? No, actually we do. And we want monopropellant as well. Now you gotta watch this core temperature. As soon as this exceeds 500K, you start losing efficiency. So extend all radiators and keep that temperature under control. That's it. We are now generating liquid oxygen and liquid fuel, as well as monopropellant, and we are slowly extracting ore. If we want to accelerate this process, we'll have to get an engineer with a couple of stars of experience on here. That should give us a nice, healthy boost to performance, but otherwise, we are doing well. We have a contract parameter complete, so we've saved John Rod Kerman. We need to get him home. But at the moment, he's part of the space program. When we bring an engineer here, we'll have the same craft pick up John Rod and take him home. And last thing, I'm going to change the name of this thing. This is now a base. This is Mun Mining Base 201. Beautiful. And we're way over time yet again. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you next time.